I actually wanted to a quick shout out to the hardest working person here, and that's the cameraman. He's got an awesome job trying to track all these guys dancing on the stage. That's not easy. Good job, honestly. I will try my best to think of myself so that you've got a slightly easier job. You know what? I actually feel a little bit intimidated coming here because there's a lot of seniors here. So you've been around, you know your stuff. So I kind of thought, wow, I'm going to come here. Well, first of all, the failure, which is, I guess, never easy to talk about. And second of all, I'm going to talk about a slightly different world. But then I discovered, hold on a second, I'm at an Agile conference. If anywhere, people are open to other ideas, other places, learning from other venues, is you guys. I mean, agility is a state of mind. It's not just about tools, it's about a state of mind. So now I realized, okay, cool, you're gonna hear what I'm saying. So, let's talk about recovering from a leadership failure. What am I going to be talking about? Is basically, standard problem with the, guys, could you help me out with the clicker? Gentlemen, could you help me out with the clicker? Excellent. So let's start off with, back to my spot. Let's start off with who am I? I kind of joke that I'm Bob the Builder. I thought that I started off when I came back to Poland. So I spent 20 years abroad. I spent 11 years, 9 years in the States. And I thought I was just building when I came back to Poland, but I've been building teams and companies all my life. It started off with the Scouts and then sports and so on. So it's been around for me all the time. So I think I might have to move and go from here because we've got a reach problem. So these are some of the logos that I've been at. Each of these is interlaced with some smaller companies, but just to show you probably some of the places that you've seen. I've built EPAM from scratch. I spent time at IBM doing one of the biggest projects that I had in Europe at the time. I built SolarWinds from scratch. I worked at Amazon on Alexa. Actually, a little bit of local pride. I'm not sure how many of you know that Alexa was actually originally a Polish product. It started off, she was called Iwona, written in Gdańsk. Yep. Yep, exactly. Up in the tri-state area. And I think it would have been cool if Amazon didn't change the name to Alexa, if it kept Iwona, especially for non-Polish speakers. They would have said I wanna, which is exactly how you want to be interacting with it. So I think it would have been really cool. But they renamed it to Alexa. IBM, I had a fascinating, going back to sort of Agile, I had a really fascinating moment at IBM when this huge VP came in from the States, flew in, stood in front of my team and said, "We are now going to be Agile. IBM is moving to agility." Oh, that was a fun conversation. They're suddenly going to move the whole company into agility, a big one like that. But that's a whole separate talk. But today, what I'm going to be talking about is actually my other sort of job, which is the Kraków Kings. It's the job that has the most zeros in it in my paycheck, but unfortunately, it doesn't have a 1 in front. But I spend a lot of time doing it. Yes, American football, something slightly different. And if you see the next picture. It looks like a scrum team, right? When you think about it. We go from the very, very small guys on the left to the very, very big guys on the right. I mean, our scrum teams look exactly the same. They are, exactly the same. We've got such a mix. Okay, obviously I'm not touching, the body types and so on because, that's not PC. Can't talk about, awesome, it works, brilliant. Basically, the reason why I'm talking about this is because there's so many different types of people in an American football team. It's awesome. And this picture kind of shows it, because just from the body type, it shows that they've got different attitudes, different approaches. And we've got the same thing in a scrum team. A full scrum team has different skills and different people, different characters, and you've got to manage all of that. What I want to talk about is this team and the failure that we had. Well, actually, let's start off with how it all came about. This is a real picture. This is us playing in Gdynia. And the way my adventure started off with this team is, in Kraków there were 2 teams. When I first came back to Europe, and they were both, I call them Facebook teams. Okay, basically the guys that were playing the sport were just there to take a picture, put it on Facebook and say, oh, check out this exotic sport that I'm playing. Okay, great. Me, I'm a little bit different. You know, I got to play the sport, I got to play for the national team, I got to play the European Championships, I got a scholarship, I went to the States. So for me, winning is a natural thing. I won 3 championships as a player. So if I'm going to be a coach, I want to be winning. So when the 2 teams merged in Krakow, they asked me to be the coach. I said, well, why? And they said, well, because we want to win. Really? Okay. Let's see if you really want to win. So I said to them, okay, I will be your coach if you meet certain criteria when it comes to preparation. Okay, and I said to them, all you have to do is 90% of the team has to run 880 yards on the field, which is back and forth, which is essentially 800 meters, and you have to fit within 3 minutes. For the big guys, as you can see, there's the big guys, so basically above 100 kilograms, you have to fit within 3.5 minutes. Okay, 800 meters in 3.5 minutes isn't that difficult, but when you have to go back and forth on the field, it gets more difficult. You have to be in shape. Essentially, you have to be in good shape. So we agreed. They had their timeline. They got prepared. I came in. They did a test. 50% of the players failed. I went, all right, see ya. I started walking off. And as I'm walking off, all I hear is somebody saying, hey, where's he going? And then another guy says, I told you he was serious. I told you he wasn't joking. So I went off and I left. And they got a different coach. They had the first season. It was mediocre. They didn't really do very well. So they came to me the next year and said, can you be our coach? I said, oh, exactly the same criteria. If 90% of the players, do this test, then I'm going to be a coach. I came in, 95% of the players did it. Awesome, cool. Now here's the pivotal moment and what it all hinges on my entire talk. I stood in front of them and said, okay, I will now be your coach. And here's how we're going to work. If you do everything that I tell you in exactly the way that I tell you, I guarantee you within 3 years we're going to have a national championship. But the only response I ever want to hear from you is, yes, coach. Okay? So guess what answer I got? Yes, coach. Exactly. So the result was, within 2 years, not 3, a national championship. Okay? We became the best team. Now, the reason why I say this, because it was quite an important moment, because I chose an authoritarian style of leadership. Okay? I chose, which is the complete opposite to essentially what we do in Scrum, because Scrum is a completely liberal system where the team decides exactly how they're going to work, when they're going to work, when they're going to deliver, and so on. No, there's nobody standing over a Scrum team, or unless it's not real Scrum, but that's a whole separate conversation. So it's important that I did this. Now, they did it. They listened to me. The reason why I did this is because none of the team, like I told you, most of them were from a Facebook team. So they didn't really know what it takes to win a championship. They didn't really know. So there really was no point in me sitting down with them trying to discuss how we should practice, how many times, and so on. It just wasn't realistic. They needed to be told exactly this is the direction. They did it, and it worked. So that's the great part of the story. Oh, wow. But here's the very important part, okay? I know you start at the top. You're looking down. You're looking for the Krakow Kings, which is the team that I'm coaching. You see them at the very, very bottom. This is the year after the championship, okay? As you can see, we're second from the bottom. We won 3 games and we lost 5. Out of those 3 games, 2 of them were against Lublin. Okay, so no real big achievement. They lost every single game. So essentially from a championship team, we went to one of the worst teams in the league. And we were lucky not to get relegated to the next division, literally just because Titania were worse than us, and that's the only reason why we didn't get relegated. Okay, what happened? How do we go from a championship team, okay, to a complete failure? So this is what I wanted. So this is what our season felt like. Okay, the season was heavy. The season was tough, and this picture epitomizes what it was all about. I was trying to fix things all the time. As you try and put out fires in the business world, it's a standard thing. But I couldn't figure out. There was passion there. They wanted to win. When I did a survey at the end of the year, oh boy, one of the most painful things I've ever written. Because after every year, I do an anonymous survey, then I meet with every single player. We talk about the season, we talk about the future, and so on. After the championship season, oh wow, that survey was brilliant. I sent the results to my mum. I said, Mum, check this out. I'm the greatest coach ever. They love me. I'm brilliant. After this season, it was probably some of the most painful things I've ever read. I just got murdered by the guys because they felt it was my fault that they had a bad season. The great thing from that was that they were still passionate. They didn't like losing, so we can work on that. But then I started thinking, okay, why are they blaming me? Well, the reason why they're blaming me, and this is one of the most painful pictures that there is, I stood in front of them and said, if you follow me, if you do what I tell you, you're going to win a championship. So what happened? How comes I couldn't do it one more time? And the reason why I say that this is the most painful picture is because this looks awesome, right? These are the 4 captains that are walking onto the field before the game for the coin toss. Really awesome, right? These big guys, most sort of manly sport that there is, holding hands, right? You know, all that family crap and all that. Yes, we're awesome. The reason why this is a painful picture, because these are my 4 captains. This was their only job that they had to do throughout the whole season, pre-season, season, and throughout, to go out for the coin toss. They had no other responsibilities. I had these 4 great leaders, inspirational guys, that never had to do anything more. But that's because I chose a particular style of leadership, and that's what I felt this team needed in the first year and second year to get to the championship. But that wasn't enough to get us from the championship to maintain that level, to go even higher. Because when you're a championship team, everybody that comes to you to play, you plays against the championship team, they play a little bit better because they're playing a championship team. So that's why we had a bad season, because I just wasn't enough. And the mistake that I made is what we very often look is when we have a success, we think, yeah, if we just replicate and do things exactly the same, we just have to carry on. Ask yourself, how many times have you just gone through a retrospective, only looked at the awesome things and said, yeah, we're doing great, we deliver everything on time, let's just do everything exactly the same. But did we identify exactly what did we do right that got us to this championship? I didn't do that. I didn't identify what things got me to the championship, or what things I need to repeat, and what things I shouldn't repeat because they didn't necessarily, or they won't work in the following seasons. The problem was, I was still an authoritarian leader. I should have changed and made it into more of a democratic system, or even more a liberal system where the guys were now going to take ownership. And this is what was missing. So I changed. I completely changed my leadership style, and I made it a lot more democratic. I put it for the following year. I put more emphasis on the players. I sat down with the captains, and I gave them concrete things that they had to do in order to be leaders within the team. I set up a leadership program within the team where the players, I identified a number of players. We have 55 players in a team, so I had space to have a number of players. There was roughly about 10 of them that I saw with leadership potential. I did some workshops for them, made them understand what it is to be a leader, and what kind of things they should be doing in order to move the team forward. And then we went into the next season with a different approach, where the players were now to take more ownership in leadership, and I had to take a step back. Not an easy thing to do when you're used to running things with an iron fist. It's nice and comfortable, but now I had to really step back and let the players take things. And an incredible thing happened. Suddenly, the players were motivating each other. Even from a logistical point of view, to go to every single gym to check when they're working out. It's just, I've got 55 players, 20 different gyms in town, just to go and see and help them how they're working out in the gym. There's not enough time during the day. So what I did is I set up an Excel spreadsheet, Google Docs, and I sent out to the players all the gyms and all the names of players. I said, look, just put in which gym you're at what time, so that the coaches, and I've got like 8 assistant coaches, we can just pop in to the gym and help you with your technique. Not to check up on you, but just to help you. An incredible thing happened. Suddenly, the players started saying, hey, why don't I see you in a spreadsheet? Why aren't you going to the gym? Hey, you've only written 1 session this week. You're supposed to be doing 4. They started doing that themselves. I no longer had to do it. The players started pushing each other, started moving that up. And to summarize what incredible moment, this picture, this is probably my favorite picture I have because it says so much. The guy without the helmet, his name's Darek. Incredibly talented player. His job is to catch the ball. He's a wide receiver. In practice, brilliant. Games, has great games. But the problem with Darek is, if he drops the very first ball during a game, forget about it. He's done. He won't catch another ball during the match. We can take him off the field because there's no point keeping him on the field because just psychologically he's out. I tried so many different things. Me, the fabulous, great championship coach. I tried all these things to try and get him to get over this hump. I couldn't do it. I hugged him, I sat with him, I talked with him, I shouted at him. I did everything possible. None of these things worked. Because it was my responsibility to get it done. Now suddenly when I changed the system and put more emphasis on the players, Łukasz came to me and said, "Coach, can I talk to Darek before the game?" I said, "Absolutely, go ahead, go for it." And what he did, he took him to the practice field that was on the side and like threw him a couple of balls and he caught it. And he came up to him and said, "Listen, what's the difference between this bit of grass here and that bit of grass over there? You're a fabulous player here, you're a fabulous player over there. I believe in you, you can get this done." Went, had the greatest game of his career, and from that point, never ever had the problem. He could drop first 3 balls during a game, but he would be there during the crucial times. I couldn't do it. I couldn't get him past that hump. Łukasz could do it. It needed somebody, a peer of his, to get him past that hump, to get him over the difficult moment, and to get him to the next level. This would have never happened if I carried on running the team in exactly the same way, an authoritarian way, even though it got me to a championship. I needed to change. So, this is the result. Okay, we went right back to a championship team. So we went from a championship team to the cellar, right back to the championship game. And the only thing that changed is my approach, my leadership style with the team. The players were exactly the same. We didn't really change anything. We didn't have suddenly new guys. Same set of players. Now suddenly got us back to a championship game. So, why am I here talking to you about this? Because we need to make sure that we don't just look at our failures, but we look at our successes and understand why we managed to deliver things and what things we need to carry on doing. And most importantly, look in the mirror as leaders to see, do I need to change something about the way that I'm delivering, because the team needs something else in order to achieve the next level. Thank you.
Thank you so much, David, and thank you for the questions asked. First one, how did your background in technology help you in sports?
Oh, you know what? My background, to be honest, is scouting, harcerstwo, is sports and business, and I interchange each one of them on a daily basis. I learn things every single day from each one, and I pull things from here and pull things over there. Scrum, I'll give you an example. I use 2 different styles when it comes to preparation. I use waterfall, but I use Agile at different times during preparation during the season. I use very, very strong waterfall during the pre-season because we have so much to teach the guys in such a short amount of time that we cannot afford to, oh, this drill is exciting, or let me do that drill a little bit more for 2 minutes more, because that 2 minutes needs to be set aside for the next thing in order to make sure, because there's no point that a player can run a beautiful route, but I didn't teach him how to catch the ball. And he's in the perfect place, he's beaten the opposition, but he can't catch the ball because I ran out of time to teach him. So I have to keep waterfall. But when it comes to the season, it has to be complete agility, because from week to week, our game plan changes, the way we play, the way we practice completely changes based on who we're playing, how we played in the previous week, and what the players need in order to get prepared. So a completely different style of working from the preseason to the actual season. That's straight from this world.
I believe we have scouts on the audience, because second most popular comment is Czuwaj.
A quick one. The reason why I stand here and why I feel comfortable out here is because of the years of being a scoutmaster. Every day during camp, you have to do a gavenda, which is basically you sit down at the end of the day, you have the campfire, we finish singing, and you got to say a couple of words to summarize the day. I did that every single day as a scoutmaster, and trust me, the feedback from the kids is instantaneous. If you're boring, they literally fall asleep. So that's where I learned how to be on stage.
Thank you so much. We have several more questions, but feel free to ask David.
Sure. Grab me when I'm around. Thank you very much for your time.